Welcome to this week's episode of Forgiving the Girl Inside, a Matter of the Heart. I'm your hostess, Lisa Drennan, energetic mindset mentor, business strategist, and I have the beautiful Alexa Martin. She is coming all the way from Mexico with us to join. So here I am freezing in a sweater, and she's in this beautiful air conditioning room, enjoying the hot sun and summer-like weather. So jealous. But Amanda Martin is a beautiful mindset and life coach. She helps high-achieving women feel confident and grounded in themselves. If you're ready to unleash your potential and really create a life that you love, you need to listen to Alexa as she shares her own personal healing journey of forgiving the girl inside. Thank you so much, Alexa, for joining us today. I'm excited to hear what your life was like before you began your healing journey. And I want to know how you ended up in Mexico. Are you just on vacation or is that where you live?
I've been here since August. I was here for a little bit at the start of the year, and then I went back to the US, and then I came back in the end of the summer, and I've been here ever since. So it's now November, so it's been like 2-3 months.
Wonderful. It must be nice just to be in that constant sun and warm weather and sun, and just so peaceful and beautiful.
Totally. You definitely do miss like the fall. I grew up in the Northeast, so I love the fall, and I definitely do miss parts of the fall.
Yeah. I'll send you a picture of the changing leaves, so you can see that. It's raining and cold. I'm in Rochester, New York, and it's calling for snow. I don't like that word. We don't want to say it too loud because then it's going to come, right? But
Yeah.
it's like 32 degrees here or something. I don't even know. It's cold.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I want that warmer weather. I'm definitely a beach girl myself. So tell us what's your journey been like, before you became a mindset coach, a life coach, what got you there?
So I was introduced to kind of like the world of wellness almost by chance. I wasn't like seeking help or seeking anything. My roommate just recommended to me to read this book, and I had never read a book my whole life. I hated reading, but I, for some reason, decided to read this book. And, as they say, the rest is history. That one book became like 200 mindset books. And I just got super into eating differently and working out differently. And, that's where it just kind of all began. And then I got introduced to these mindset coaches, and I ended up working with them. And that changed my life in so many ways, and I just like haven't really looked back since. And now it's just been years of putting in work on myself, all because of that one book.
It's amazing how when your body needs something, when your mind needs something, it's going to absorb that because you hit that, I want to call it rock bottom, but you hit that and you get to the point where you're like so frustrated and so overwhelmed, and you're like, there's got to be something that's going to shift me. So here you went from a non-reader to this avid reader. You read over 200 books. When you first thought about mindset, what came to mind? I like that. I didn't even understand it as a play on words.
Yeah. I didn't even notice until I'm like, yeah, mindset, what came to mind. I think, honestly, I don't think I ever had a moment where someone was like, mindset, and I'm like, oh, what's this mindset thing? It just kind of like, I don't know, it just like all came to me in this like flow. It wasn't like this like, oh, I want to learn more about mindset. It was just like every book I picked up learned something new. And then through working with those mindset coaches, I think that's where I really got an understanding of, what it was, what it entails. So really just through my own experience, my own healing, my own journey, which I think is just like the most important thing that we can do, right? Like the best coaches have coaches, and you're going to learn the most through your own journey and through doing work on yourself. So like, as much as like podcasts and books and all those things are great, like actually working with someone and like putting in the work on yourself is where you're going to really learn a lot.
Yeah, and that's the key, putting in the work yourself, because no one can get you to where you need to be unless you're willing to do that work. And captivating our thoughts, I mean, as mindset coaches, mentors, people like to use those words interchangeably. Some people don't like the word coach. Um, I have different feelings about different words, but the mindset, when we captivate our thoughts and we really think about what we're thinking and why we're receiving the information, especially when we're dealing with outside influences, people will say things, especially this time of year, it seems like a little bit more active. Some people will blame it on full moon. Some people will blame it on change of seasons, like the winds are blowing a certain way. But in reality, it's how we're perceiving information. And I don't know if you found this similar in your journey, but when somebody says something to me, I have to stop and think, what are they saying? Is it true? Is it a fact, or is it their opinion? And if it is bothering me, why does it bother me? So when you were reading all these different books, first I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite book, and what book would you recommend to the audience?
Okay, the book, it's called just How to Do the Work by, her name is Nicole LaPera, I think. I'm pronouncing her last name possibly incorrectly. But it's just called How to Do the Work. Great book.
Okay, I'm going to check it out. And I'll actually write that down so I can put it in the comments. How to Do the Work
Yeah.
by Nicole. How to Do the Work. Okay. And when you were looking at that piece and examining your own heart, what was the block for you that you had to clear, that you had to work through? Was it self-sabotage, people pleasing, imposter syndrome, fear, shame, guilt? What did you need to forgive yourself for?
So I had to work through a lot of different things. One big thing for me was control. So I kind of like, if you think about like all the low vibes, I hang out in two of them, control and victimization. And those come from different things in childhood, different moments of conditioning. They come from, like, when I think about my parents, dad hangs out in control, mom hangs out in victimization. So like, you can kind of put the pieces together. So I had to really work a lot on the both of those, and a lot on we'll just get deep together real quick in doing, this mindset work, right? You start to look to your past and you start to kind of uncover memories that may have been suppressed for a really long time, which can be really scary because, right, our minds want to keep these memory stuff down because it's, to them, like, it's not safe for us to remember them, to know what happened. And so in my journey, at one point, I had this like memory come back of something that I had forgotten for like 12 years, of a childhood sexual experience. And that was like horrifying to remember that. And I remember there was like a few months from like the moment that I remembered it until like I told anyone. And like, I just like I was like, I'm taking this one to the grave. I'm not telling anyone. Like, this is no one, just me in the grave. There's no way I could ever tell anyone this. And I had this moment where I went to dinner with my partner and I just started like uncontrollably sobbing. And I was like, I need to tell you this. Like, I don't know how. I'm so scared. I'm scared that you won't love me, but like, I have to tell you because like, I'm just losing my mind. And, then I told him, then I worked one-on-one with someone and like, told them. And like, since then it's not like I go around telling everyone, but yeah, I mean, like, I really had to work through that. And there's a lot of like shame and just like forgiving yourself and a lot of work with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. And it's in my audience, there's a lot of ladies who have experienced that. I was sexually molested from the ages of 3 to about 7. And I knew the person. They were a family member. So I wasn't afraid of them or anything. And it was the first thing I processed in my healing journey, years of therapy that started at 18. But I could see where, like, when I was growing up, I turned to unhealthy coping mechanisms. And I have a truth post going, my first beer I drank at 5 years old because, it was cool, and why not? I was experiencing things that 5-year-olds don't experience. But at that age, I didn't know it. But when I processed it as an adult and looked back, it was scary. It was just like, well, wait a minute. And then like I have 3 adult children now, but I think of them when they were 5 years old, and I'd be like livid if like, and my mom didn't know. My parents were divorced, so the dysfunction that sets in, and then you start to see other families and how things are supposed to be. And like you said, if you tell your significant other, it's like, oh, you're not gonna, what will you think of me, like, and somehow like playing that victim role, like it wasn't our fault, we had no control over it. And if you think of a mind as a child's mind, they're so, they trust so openly. And it's really, and even though if they sense something, like I know we're all born with intuition and we get uncomfortable, but the things that people can say to a child to keep them in fear, to keep them in shame and guilt if they don't tell. So it's so powerful to speak those words out. And I'm glad you didn't bring it to your grave, because it's probably why you needed to read that mindset book that first time around. Those suppressed memories really do manifest themselves physically, and in other ways. I know for me, it was anger. I was so very angry. And then I, made choices that were very unhealthy. So I kept doing things to not be able to forgive myself. And it's just like, so you go through this life of, I'm never going to forgive myself because I don't deserve it. I deserve perpetual punishment. I was no good. I could have, in that victim mode, that triangle, there's that rescuer, the perpetrator, and then the victim. And, our goal is not to be part of that victim triangle, and to be victorious. So when you realize that, and you shared, and then you said you went for counseling, so you did all the things you did to heal. How long did it take you to heal and understand that it wasn't your fault and that you could forgive yourself?
I think about that particular moment just like a few months probably. I did like a lot of work of just like, visualizing myself as that like child, and thinking about, what she knew, what she didn't know at the time, like really just like bringing yourself back with a lot of compassion, writing letters to that version of yourself, letters to the world, things like that. So I think that after, once I like, gave voice to it and told others, and then started to do that sort of work, it became a lot easier. And I think that honestly, once you give voice to something, it becomes a lot easier to heal. But it's when you try to keep it to yourself and keep it this like secret, when it's really hard and it just eats you alive. So I think about like other thoughts, things that have crossed my mind that like, I'm not proud of, and I'm like, stuff it down, like shame it away, get rid of that, like we can't think that way, there's something wrong with me, like just get rid of it. And like the moment you just share it with someone, and you're like, wait, like I'm not weird, like this is just a part of being a human, other people feel this way, other people think this way, and it makes healing a lot easier than when you're just trying to like do it on your own in silence without ever having to tell anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. And it's a beautiful journey as well. And sometimes there'll be things that trigger you and sneak up on you. Do you find that experience where you'll just kind of, all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, wait a minute, that's a trigger for me. And how do you respond to that when it happens?
Oh yeah. And this is like honestly what I coach people on, is what to do when these emotional triggers arise, right? Because of course we're walking around the world and we get triggered by like something happening in the grocery store, and now our bodies are like brought us back in time. And so I just kind of go through like a 4-step process of like, first of all, recognizing like, okay, I'm triggered right now. Recognizing what emotional state am I being pulled to? Maybe that's victimization, control, fear, anger, shame, frustration, sadness, grief, whatever it may be. So first of all, just like recognizing, what's happening right now, because it's so easy to just fall into autopilot and react to it. And you need to have that like moment where it's like, okay, I'm aware of what's happening right now. So once you go through awareness, then you can start to realize where it's coming from. And when you've done so much work on yourself, that realization can be very quick. Like in under 15 seconds, I can know what it's triggering from my past. If you haven't done that much work on yourself, like it might be like a little, I don't really know what's going on here, but I know something's going on. So depending on where you are in your journey, on your level of awareness, you can realize where it's coming from. And if you don't know, like that's okay. You just realize that like this isn't yours. This doesn't have to be your truth. And then I do some form of like release. So for me, sometimes it's like dancing, just like doing a little bit of breath work, whatever it may be to like release what's popping up. And then think about like a new truth, a new belief that I want to replace it with moving forward.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I have similar modality, with the captivating your thoughts and just really stopping and thinking about what you're receiving and determining whether or not it should become an emotion or if you should just dismiss it. And if it gets past the point where it becomes an emotion, why is it affecting you? Like, is there something deeper that you need to go to, something from the past? And I'm a certified aroma freedom practitioner. So with our breath work, we introduce Young Living essential oils and use certain oils to help speed up that breathing process, but just really focusing on, maybe it's fear or shame or guilt, and then using that to help remove that blocker and process it. And I always tell people, because you had mentioned this earlier, like, it's you realize this memory that you had suppressed for so many years, and it was scary bringing it up. And a lot of people are afraid to do that deep work because they don't want to relive the memories. In my experience, you don't relive the memory, you grieve it and heal from it, because you actually acknowledge it. And the first step of healing is to acknowledge it out loud, like this happened, and then go through that process. You have a 4-step, I have a 7-step process where you just kind of dig layers into the deep. And a lot of times what I have found in my own healing journey is that I was master at burying my feelings. And when I uncover one, there's another one there that needs to be processed. And then, but it's such a beautiful journey to be able to go through it and grieve and forgive, because we're not really taught that. Like, there should be a course in school for people, for kids especially, because when you're going through the hormones and you're going through all the ups and like, you go into school, especially if you're the new kid, and there's the social groups and the cliques and this and that, and if you don't get the grades, you got all this pressure coming at you, and it's almost like you're in this high performance. And if you could just stop and say, okay, yep, these are the choices that you have to make. But deep down inside, there's a little girl inside of you that says, I'm passionate about this. This is what I really want to do. But then there's, somebody, oh, you can't do that. And they suppress that. And then you're like, oh, and it's almost like you kind of feel yourself go down, like buried a little bit, and then your true self just kind of keeps getting further and further, unless you stand up for yourself and say, you know what? I appreciate what you're saying. However, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to proceed. And as adults, if we can go back, and like you said, I loved how you said you wrote a letter to yourself at that age. Powerful tool. We do a lot of writing in my coaching program, SOAR, where we envision ourselves, our future selves, our past selves. Such a powerful exercise, and taking the time to do that, to work with a mentor who focuses on the mindset. It's so powerful. So, and you said something about dancing, and I know you have, is it a special form of dancing? I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pronounce this word. Is it ecstatic?
Ecstatic dancing? Yeah.
What's that?
Ecstatic dancing. I mean, it's just dancing. It's just like dancing fun. So you'll like go to like an ecstatic dancing, not class, but just like experience. I can't think of the word to use. An ecstatic dance. Yeah, just you go to an ecstatic dance. There'll be like someone who's leading it, and it's not like they turn on the music and they're like, okay, go get it. They lead you. If they're a good facilitator, they lead you into it. So, everyone starts by doing the same sort of movements, and then at some point it kind of goes into just like a free flowing, and it's like no speaking, and everyone's just kind of like dancing on their own, and it's very just like heart opening and healing and freeing, and like you allow yourself to be seen in ways that you may not have in the past, and it's just, yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
Wow. So it's like a whole routine, like dance steps?
No, 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 no. Like the facilitator may be like, it's going to be different person to facilitator to facilitator, but once it goes into free flow, like just think about like music playing and everyone's just kind of like free flowing, doing their own thing. You can dance however you want.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, and the expression of the body that way is very freeing. And I know a lot of people feel awkward dancing and body movement. They're not comfortable in their own skin. And a lot of that has to do with something that happened, when they were inner child. Somebody mocked them or teased them, or, they weren't really sure how to move their body, and just to be able to have that freedom to be totally comfortable in your own skin. So I love that. So tell us about your program. How do you help? You do hypnosis as well? Are you a hypnotherapist?
Yes, so I do hypnosis in my program, but primarily it's just like kind of like mindset and life coaching. So it's a 12-week program and I help women who, are just feeling like stuck, lost, overwhelmed, anxious, get to a place where they really just embody this confidence and this ease with life and they start creating the life that they want, rather than constantly feeling like they're being controlled by everything around them. It's like they step into their power and create the life that they actually want. So it's called Limitless. It's a 12-week program. It's like my whole heart. It's incredible.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's amazing. I'm actually, if anyone's interested, in November. So I'm like the phone police. I'm not the phone police, but I'm like the phone police. And I just think that like the amount that people scroll and the boundaries that they have with themselves and their phones is huge for the level of energy, presence, happiness that people have in life. I think it has huge impacts and it's not something that is necessarily spoken about that much because everyone's doing it. So it's kind of socially
Mhm.
acceptable. So I'm really passionate about that. And I'm hosting a free challenge, a social media detox challenge in November that I'm so excited about. And I'm like, everyone, like, come join. No more scrolling. It's going to be right around the holidays, really just about being present with yourself, with the people around you. So, yeah, if anyone wants to come
Awesome.
join our challenge, social media detox, you can comment on this post and I will follow up with you. Or you can DM me.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. Definitely will do that and take advantage of that. So thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey. And I love that now you're turning around and helping others with their own mindset to be balanced so that they can truly live for them and not for what the world tells them to do. And for our listeners out there, if you're watching live on Facebook, and you'd like to connect with Alexa, send her a friend request, comment below, tag her, and she'll reach out to you. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast site and you would like to connect with Alexa, check the description for the links to connect with her. And if you know someone who would benefit from either her coaching program or SOAR, seeking your authentic route to your highest potential, where as a mindset mentor, business strategist, I help those who know what their purpose is and are ready to monetize that purpose and live out your passion to make that ripple effect. You can direct message me. And remember, everyone's on a daily healing journey. It's a matter of the heart.